Welcome to Medicine. I'm Vize. This is a yin yang practice for beginners. It'll be 60 minutes, and the focus is to kind of be introduced to yoga or be introduced to the simple concepts of yoga or just be able to practice what you've learned so far as a beginner. So we're going to get started right away in child's pose. So for child's pose, separate your knees pretty wide and let your hips drop back over your heels. I forgot to mention, you might need a block and a blanket for this practice. Try to get a blanket for sure. Bring the block if you need it. This is like if you have sensitive knees, you might need this between your heels and your hips and sink down into child's pose. If you don't need a block, you just let your hips come all the way down. Maybe they float a little bit, but you kind of try to push the hips back towards the heels. Start breathing in and out of your nose. I'm just going to tell you a couple of tips for the practice. Number 1 tip, take rest when you need rest. Don't push yourself to or through pain, and don't push yourself to do things that you know you're not ready for. If you need to take it really easy on yourself and really start slow, that is your responsibility. You need to see that, focus on that, and then just be with wherever you are today, not pushing yourself through or forcing yourself to do things that are not serving you today. Go at your own pace and march to the beat of your own drum. If a pose feels really good and you want to pause and just enjoy it for a couple more breaths, please do. You don't have to follow my commands like a robot. It's just a guidance that I'm giving you. Suggestions for you to try. So while you're breathing in and out of your nose, try to extend your breath so you have like a bigger breath. So a bigger inhale and a longer exhale. And while you're exhaling, one way to make your exhale longer is to restrict the back of your throat like you're going to fog up a mirror glass, like but your mouth is closed. You just make that slight little constriction and exhale with it. Kind of makes an ocean sound. Call this Ujjayi breathing. See if you can get your belly to be relaxed and expand real big as you breathe in. 2 more breaths. Make sure your exhales are at least the length of your inhale. So you can count to whatever number it takes you to inhale and then count to that same number as you exhale. You can count longer when you exhale. That way you're making your exhale even longer than your inhale, which is beneficial. Slowly start to bring your hands underneath your shoulders and lift yourself up onto all fours. When you get to all fours, bring your hands right underneath your shoulders. Bring your knees right underneath your hips and breathe while you look straight down. 2 breaths. See if you can pull your belly button in towards your spine without rounding your spine. Another breath. Try to look straight down and don't move your eyeballs even to do this move. You could look at the video for 2 seconds, but then you don't have to look at me any longer. You're going to take your right leg long behind you. The foot is as high as your right hip. And then your left hand forward. The hand is as high as your shoulder. The eyes still look straight down. Belly button still pulling into the spine. Breathe here. 3 breaths. One more breath. Press the heel back behind you. The fingertips reach forward. And as you're exhaling, bring your hand down and your knee back down to the ground. Let's switch. Take your left foot long behind you. We're balancing. Right hand forward. If you're already feeling that this is a little too much or too advanced, you can tap either your toes first. If you need more, you can tap your fingertips on the ground and just lift them up for a few seconds at a time until you gain the balance to be able to lift the limbs up as high as your spine. So look down. 2 more breaths. Stretch forward through the fingertips, push back through the heel. You're still looking down. 1 more inhale. And then when you're exhaling, bring your hand back to the earth and your knee back to the earth. I like to kind of let my hips sway back and forth for just a second after I am warming up like that. All right, let's do it again. We're going to add a little bit to it this time. So look straight down. You know what the move is. The left hand forward and the right leg back at the same time. Look down. Go. Take a big breath in and touch your elbow and your knee underneath you, underneath your heart or your belly. Take them back when you breathe in. Touch again, elbow to knee. 1 more time. And if you have to, you can set the right foot down. That's okay. Come back in, touch, extend them back out, breathing in. Lower the hand and the knee when you exhale. Switch, look down, same timesies, left knee, right, or left leg, right hand. Still looking down. Pull the belly button into the spine and breathe in. When you breathe out, try to touch your elbow and your knee. Maybe you don't make it all the way today, but you start the process of letting your body know that that's your intention. That's what you're going to try to go for. Keep going. As you exhale, touch. As you inhale, reach out long. Last time, touch. Reach out long. And set your hand and your knee down as you exhale. If you're finding this is pretty intense on your knees, a blanket can be a great prop to soften the floor. We're going to stay on the knees just a little bit longer. So with a yin-yang practice, we can move from yang, active, holding the poses, using the muscles, to a more passive shape, something that we relax into. And that's what we're going to do right now. So come back to this, all fours position. The next time you breathe in, take your right arm straight up to the sky. And then you're going to what we call thread the needle. Take the right hand and it goes between the left hand and the left knee. And you stretch your right arm all the way out to the left. Come down so that you're on your shoulder and set your head down. You can keep your left hand, fingers on the ground if you want to. Sometimes that kind of helps me to stay in place. Or maybe you want to drape your left arm around your back. Whatever you choose. Remember this, like I just said, we're going to go from active to passive. This is passive. So for the first 30 seconds of this pose, see if you can explore ways to make this feel like a nice sweet spot that you can relax in. Might be a little strange, a little awkward, but try to find a way to be still and soft and relaxed. What I mean by soft is the opposite of tense. So to be the opposite of tense, it's important to scan your body and see if you can find the tension that exists. And if it's possible to release that tension without losing sight of losing the shape that your body's in, then release the tension. And I forgot to mention, it's important that your hips stay over your knees in this pose. So if you're too far forward or too far back, bring your hips right over top of your knees. And relax your eyebrows, your forehead. There's no wrinkles in the forehead right now. And your top and bottom teeth are not touching each other right now. It's like a tiny little gap. Keep trying to breathe deeply through your nose. Just 3 more breaths. How can you relax more? How can you soften yourself more? Exhale all your air out. When you get to the end of your exhale, start to exit the pose by pushing your left arm down so you can pull your right arm out from under you. You might stretch the right arm back up to the sky. I like that because it feels good on my side body. And then the right hand down. We'll just switch sides right away. Inhale, lift your left arm up. And you're going to thread the needle on the other side so the left hand goes between the right hand and the right knee. And you stretch that left arm all the way out to the right. Relax your head down. Keep your hips over your knees. And surrender. Be passive. Let go. Try not to hold yourself in this pose. Try only to use the muscles you absolutely have to stay here. Again, do that scan with your face, your forehead, and your jaw. Make them relaxed. How's your breath? Are you still breathing on purpose, or have you forgotten to breathe on purpose? Because your autopilot breath will come back every single second you forget to breathe. But how often can you choose to remember rather than forget? Keep melting, keep breathing. Last 5 breaths on this side. Draw out your breath. Long, deep breath, and then long, maybe longer, exhale. Begin to either bring your hand down, your right hand down, or push into your forearm so you can lift up and let your left arm loose. And I like to stretch my left arm back up to the sky. And release. You're on all fours. Let's work on downward facing dog. Tuck your toes under behind you. And before you lift your knees off the ground, feel your hands, spread them out, your fingers, and push the palms down really hard into the ground. Keep pushing the palms down because that is going to enable you to push out of your shoulders like so, right? You don't want to sink into them. Push out. And when you push out, you're going to let your chest drop back towards your thighs. Toes are tucked. We're going to try to keep the chest going back towards the thighs as you push into the balls of your feet and lift your knees off the ground. The hips are the highest point. Keep lifting your hips up, up, up. And then if you want to, your knees might start to straighten. They might not at first. Mine took a long time to straighten, and I still only sometimes straighten my knees in down dog. So for a moment, bend one knee and straighten the other as you drop the heel down. Drop your chest down towards your thighs. Keep that happening. Push into your hands to help the chest towards the thighs. Good work. So from here, just start to walk your hands all the way back to your feet. Once you get your hands back to your feet, this is where you might need a block. Just depends on how new you are to movement and if there's much flexibility in your spine. So if you need a block, you can put both of your hands on the block and drop your head down. And this just kind of takes some of the weight out of your chest and your head that are pulling down right now. You do want to let your head drop completely so you're not using the muscles in your neck. And then as time goes on, you start to keep letting your chest drop lower and lower and lower. Use the block as a tool if you need to help yourself down rather than let yourself drop. Use the block for that. Otherwise, drop the head down if you don't need support. You're not using the neck. Head is heavy. You could even shake your head yes or no and kind of feel that sensation of I'm not using my neck muscles to hold my head up. Take opposite thumb to opposite elbow crease. This is ragdoll. You might bend your knees a little bit. You might bend your knees a whole lot. You might straighten your legs. It just depends on what you need. How is your breathing? 3 more breaths right here. Okay, so let go of your hands so your arms are kind of dangling. The next time you breathe in, you're only going to lift your chest up halfway so you look like your spine is parallel to the ground like a tabletop. So inhale, your hands can come to your shins and lift your chest up halfway. Now, the important thing to do in this pose is to squeeze your shoulder blades together on your back. That's not always easy, but feel that happen. Squeeze them together. Take a big breath in. And then exhale, fold forward. Use your block if you need to. Do that again. Lift your heart halfway up, halfway lift. Squeeze your shoulder blades. Breathe out. Stay here for another inhale. And exhale, fold forward. One more time. Inhale for a halfway lift. Squeeze your shoulder blades. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Hold here. If you can pull your belly button into your spine, do that too. One more breath in. Fold forward. Now use your hands to walk up the front of your body. We're coming up to stand. For a moment, just stand with your arms by your sides and close your eyes if you can. If you can't, look in front of your mat on the floor. But if you can, close your eyes. Feel your feet on the ground. Do you feel your feet kind of rolling outward, rolling inward? Can you balance out the weight on your feet? The next time you breathe in, stretch your arms up, but push your feet down and lift yourself higher through your heart, not your shoulders. Your shoulders don't lift up to pull you up. They stay down. Your heart lifts you up. Hold here. Push your feet down really firm. So that means engaging your legs to push your feet down, like you're going to push through your mat. Take one more big breath in this stance. And then as you exhale, you're going to fold forward again, letting your arms drop down, your head drop down. With one big breath, lift halfway up, hands to your shins, squeeze the shoulder blades. And as you exhale, you're going to walk your hands back forward into downward facing dog. Big inhale. Big exhale. Inhale and move your weight forward so you're in a high push-up position. If you need to, you can drop those knees right down onto the earth. If you don't need to, lift your knees up. So all we're going to do is you're going to push into your hands and lift yourself up and out of your shoulders. So lift up the back, the high back, upper back. And then as you exhale, drop your low back down. Your elbows stay straight. You're just kind of letting your chest come between your shoulders. Inhale and push up. Your knees can be down. Exhale and let your chest drop in. Again, inhale, push your back up. Exhale, sink in. One more time. Do your best. Inhale, push up. And exhale as slow as you can. You're going to lower your chest. Try to hit your chest and the belly at the same time. Come all the way down like a push-up. Hit the ground. Relax your arms by your sides. Take a breath. Exhale out your mouth. So for Cobra, you're going to push the tops of your feet down behind you. If there's a blanket there, it might make it a little bit difficult, but do your best. Hands come down underneath your shoulders, and all you're going to lift is your chest, your knees, but your knees only lift because you're pushing your feet down so hard. Your chest, your knees, and your head. So lift up, chest, head, and knees. Squeeze your legs so your knees lift off the ground. This is Cobra. Keep lifting your chest a little bit higher. You're not looking forward. You're kind of looking down and a little bit in front of your mat. Inhale, one more big breath. And exhale, lower down, cheek to the mat. Relax for a breath. Untuck your, never mind. Take another breath. Here we go, Cobra. Press the tops of the feet down. Lift the chest and the head and your knees because you're pushing so firmly down into your feet. Doesn't work that good with a blanket in the way. Take one more big breath in and then lower down. We're going to do that one more time with one big breath in between. So relax for this temporary moment. Take a big inhale. Exhale out your mouth. Here we go, Cobra. Lift your heart, your head, and your knees. Exhale, stay. Take one more big breath in. Listen close. Push down into your hands and come into downward facing dog. If you need to go onto your knees first, that's totally fine. But push into your feet. Lift your hips up. Remember, chest back towards the thighs. So in Hatha or Vinyasa yoga, sometimes we do what we call one breath, one movement. And if it's a little too fast for you, just take 2 breaths per movement. So I'm going to walk you through it as slow as I can, trying to breathe big and deep breaths so that you can move slower instead of rushing. If you're starting to rush, just take 2 breaths per movement. So as you inhale, look towards your hands. As you exhale, get your feet to your hands. You could walk, you could hop, you could just step one big step. Feet are together. Inhale to lift to that halfway lift. Hands to your shins, squeeze your shoulder blades, and exhale, fold forward. If you can, touch the backs of your legs and drop your head down. Inhale to stand up. I like to bend my knees a lot. Push into the mat, lift up, stretch the arms up. And as you exhale, bring your hands down into your heart. Release the hands by your sides. Inhale, sweep them up. And exhale, fold forward. Lift yourself halfway up when you breathe in. Squeeze the blades. Exhale, listen, plant your hands and step back to the high push-up. If you need to lower the knees right away, lower the knees right away. That's what I'll show you. Inhale in your high push-up or with your knees down. And exhale as slow as you can. 5, 4, 3. You're going all the way to the ground. 2, 1. Cobra. Lift your knees, your chest, your head. And exhale into downward facing dog. If it takes you 2 breaths, that's okay. Let's try that again. Inhale, look towards your hands. While you're exhaling, step or walk your feet to your hands. Lift yourself halfway up. Squeeze the blades. Exhale, fold. Inhale to stand up. Press into your feet. exhale, hands to your heart center. At the end of your exhale, just release your hands down by your sides and then breathe in and stretch up. And exhale, fold forward. Hug your chest down into your thighs if you can. Breathe into a halfway lift. Plant your hands, step back, high push up. Come onto your tiptoes, breathe in, lower down for 5, 4, 3. Push your hands down, 2, 1. Cobra, lift your heart, your knees. And exhale to downward facing dog. Big breath in through your nose. Exhale out your mouth. And lower your knees down. Again, we'll be on the knees for a moment, so I like to pad my knees with a blanket. If you don't need it, don't bother. So this yin pose is called melting heart. All you really need is a block, maybe, that's an option, and a blanket, maybe, if you need to put your knees on some padding. It looks like child's pose, but put your knees right underneath your hips, so they're pretty close, your hip distance and your knees. And then walk your hands as far forward as they'll go till your forehead touches the ground, but your hips stay over your knees the whole time. When your forehead touches the ground, then relax your elbows so your elbows touch the ground and your forearms touch the ground. And we're going to let ourselves drop in by letting the chest drop towards the ground. If this is too much tension on your shoulders and you can't get yourself to relax, that's what the block's for. You'll put it right underneath your chest. And it'll help you to relax, bringing the ground to you. Check in with your breathing. Count to 4 while you breathe in. And then as you exhale, count to 4, 5, or 6. Obviously, you're counting at the same pace for the inhale and the exhale. So now that you have your breath very controlled, you're not letting autopilot take over. Do a scan. Start with your face, your forehead, your jaw. Remember, no wrinkles in the forehead. And your top and bottom teeth can just have a tiny little gap. Really try to relax your shoulders. Especially if you find this super uncomfortable, then focus on relaxing your shoulders. Use the block if you're super uncomfortable, for sure. Maybe use 2 blocks if you need some more height. Feel your back as it bends, as it softens. Feel your shoulders in this range of motion that brings a little bit of pressure into the shoulders. Really let your belly balloon out big when you inhale, and exhale, let everything kind of sink down towards the ground. Just a few more breaths. If there's any more room for you to sink or even just soften, surrender to that now. Slowly, very, very slowly, start to walk your hands back so that they start to come underneath your shoulders so you can lift yourself back up, push into your hands, lift your chest up. Child's pose with your knees right where they are. So again, I like the block just because I have a sensitive knee, but you don't need to use a block. You can just let your hips drop towards your heels, forehead to the mat. And I like to bring my arms back now because that's a counter pose to what we were just doing with the arms forward. Few breaths. See if you can really feel the difference of letting go of that shape and kind of just releasing in the shoulders, releasing in the back. Okay, from here, we're going to come sitting. So bring your legs around in front of you. And a couple of tips for sitting. If you're sitting and your low back, with this very, very common with beginners, don't think anything of it. It's just because you're not used to sitting on the floor necessarily. But your low back might start to kind of curve and fall out behind you. If you feel that and you're kind of like holding yourself up to sit, then sit on a block instead. And what that does is it kind of like takes your hips and tilts them down so like your knees are lower than your hips. And it makes it a little easier to have that flat back at your low back and sit up straight. We're going to extend the legs out now. So if you don't need a block, then don't sit on a block. If you do, that's okay. And if you do, you might find that underneath your knees needs support because this is a little too much with your legs dangling or being in the air like so. So this is how you would prop yourself up if you need it. Otherwise, you'll be sitting flat on the floor. Inhale and take your arms up over your head. And exhale and reach towards your feet. You might end up grabbing your toes. You might just grab your shins. You might kind of look more like this. This is okay too. All you want to do is let your chest lean into this. If you can curve the back a little bit and let the head drop down, then do. Take a few deep breaths here. Exhale completely. Push your air out. Nice long exhale. One more breath. Exhale your air out. And then just start to sit up straight. Hands will just sit right on the sides of your hips. You're going to push into your hands, but not to lift yourself up. You're just pushing into your hands. Roll your shoulders back so your shoulder blades squeeze together behind you. I like about 6 inches between my feet in this pose. Push your knees down into the ground and pull your chest forward. This is staff pose. Just look forward. You can even close your eyes if you want. Don't stop breathing. One more breath. Chest pulls forward, push down into the knees, down into the floor. And then soften your body. What we're going to do from here is, I have to turn my hands around for this, but everyone kind of finds a different hand position. You'll see what fits in your body here. You're going to bend your knees and plant your feet and lift yourself up like you're on all fours like we were before, but instead of being on the hands and the knees, you're on the feet and the hands and you're facing up. So lift your hips up. If your head is okay with dropping back, drop it back. Don't stop lifting those hips. Do your best. If you look more like this, fine. That's just today. That's the moment you're in. Embrace the moment you're in and breathe. Do your best. Lift your hips. Take one more big breath in. Push into your feet to try to lift your hips up. And then as you exhale, lower your butt all the way to the ground. Release that weight out of your hands. We're going to come across the legs. So I'm going to show you the more advanced way. If you can't do the more advanced way, I'll show you the less advanced. And advanced just means your body's used to the shape. If your body's not used to the shape, you'll have to do something a little less. So what you want to do first is bring your right knee down to the ground and pull the right foot all the way into the left hip. And then the left leg's going to go on top, and you pull the left foot all the way into the right hip. So this is called shoelace, and this doesn't work if you don't do this. If this is the first time you've done this in 10 years, it's not going to look like this, and that's okay, but we have to kind of adjust. So this is what happens if you have to adjust. If feet don't go this close or into your hips, then the feet are going to go farther away from you. And most likely, if your knee's up like this and you're feeling kind of more like this, you're going to want to set your left foot, the one that's on top, in front of your right knee. So if this is the pose for you, that's okay. If you're sitting on something, then that means you're listening to what you need. Perfect. So sit up really tall in whatever shape your legs happen to look like right now. I like to put a block in front of me so I can lean on it. I like two, really. So inhale, stretch the arms up, and exhale, lean into this. Now, when I first start leaning into it, it's nothing. I can barely lean into it. I need some time to ease into it. So I put my hands on blocks in front of me because I don't want the weight of my arms to pull me forward. And I let myself sink into this as I'm ready, not because or I'm not leaning into this right away because I know I'm capable of a very deep stretch. I'm easing myself into it because I'm feeling that my hips and my knees need some more time to adjust. And that's really what the yoga practice is about, listening to what you need, modifying, because you're never going to look just like me, and then making the pose or the moment fit into you. And how can you respond to it rather than react to something that's not perfect for you? Just respond to each and every moment here. So keep leaning forward into this. Another yin yoga pose, so a yin moment. How's your breath? Can you wiggle around until you can find stillness? You want stillness. And if there comes a time when you think your body's allowing you more space to sink into it, go with it. But keep listening. Don't check out and start daydreaming about other things. Keep listening and observing. Is your body going to let you go deeper without clenching and tightening things up because it's not ready? So if the tension happens, you know you're not ready. Back out a little bit more. Ease into a deeper, more pressure in the pose. This will be your last breath. So if your breath has gotten shallow and you forgot about it, breathe in as deep as you can right now. And exhale for as long as you can right now. When you're done exhaling, start to lift yourself back up. And just uncross your legs, straighten your legs out. Feel that release in the body. Go ahead and lay back on your mat. Savasana, so that's corpse pose. If you've done yoga before, separate your legs pretty wide on the mat It just means you look like a gingerbread man laying on your back. That's Savasana, or corpse pose. And when you lay back, just listen, just observe. How does your body feel? What's it like to release the pressure from that last pose? All right, nice and slow. Bring your knees into your chest. If you can give yourself a little hug, then do. And then rock forward and back until you come back up into a seat. And let's switch sides or switch legs. So this time the left leg will go down first. If your ears looked more like crisscross applesauce, it's going to kind of look like this. Right foot's going to go in front of the left knee. If yours looked more like shoelace, then the left foot pulls into the right hip. The right foot pulls into the left hip. Prepare yourself by sitting up as tall as you can and putting blocks in place if you're going to need them. Breathe in deeply. While you're exhaling, when your exhale comes, start to lean into the pose. And the entire time you're leaning into the pose, you're softening. You're leaning into your legs, relaxing yourself. If you're leaning into it and you just feel tension, like your legs just tense up and squeeze to kind of hold you, then you're going too far. Don't lean that far into it. Lean before the tension starts, like kind of stop short of that tension. Drop your head down if it'll go. Again, just remember you can use your props in different ways. So I like to use them as like steps. So I start on the highest step, sink down a little bit to that medium step. And then if there's ever a space where I feel like there's room for me to sink more, then I'll go to the lowest step of the block. But that might not ever come. Not today, and I'm okay with that. I know I'm capable of sinking way deeper into this, but I also know that that is not necessarily listening to what I need in the moment. I like to go slow. I like to listen to each of the little moments. Like before I even get to my fullest expression or what I'm capable of here, I can feel so much in my hips and this like right back side here. Like I don't want to push past it because I'm feeling plenty. So if you're feeling plenty, stop trying to push past it. Hang out in the plenty. It's totally fine. Just because you can doesn't mean you must. We're only going to stay for about 5 more breaths. So if sinking is a possibility, sink more. If softening is a possibility, soften more. Surrender to this moment. Whether you love it or hate it doesn't matter. Just surrender to now. How's your breath? One last breath in this pose. Inhale as deep as you can. Exhale as long as you can, and when you get to the end of the exhale, start to help yourself back up again. Extend those legs back out straight and lay back onto your back. Just a few breaths here. Feel the release in your legs and your hips and your back and your face even. Draw your knees into your chest and again rock yourself up to a seat. If you can rock yourself all the way into downward facing dog, go there. If you end up in a seat, swing your legs around behind you And then come into downward facing dog. Remember, push into your hands, chest back towards your thighs, and downward facing dog. Try to hold this position, and the next time you breathe in, lift your right leg up. When you breathe out, step your right foot forward. Press into your feet. You're going to come up and do a lunge shape we call crescent lunge. So lift up. You want your right knee right over your right ankle. If it's not, make an adjustment. If you're really wobbly, just widen your stance. Take your right foot and kind of walk it out to the right. Take a big breath in your crescent lunge. And you're going to exhale and open up to what we call warrior two. So you'll have to bring this right foot into the middle. The back heel spins down and you open your arms up. Right hand reaches forward, left arm stretches back. Breathe in here and breathe out. One more breath in. While you exhale, it's like a cartwheel. You're going to bring your hands to either side of your front foot and step back into a high push-up. If this takes a lot of effort, wiggle around, make it work. You can do it. Lower down to a low push-up as you exhale. Lift your heart up for cobra. And right back into downward facing dog. If you're new, let yourself be new. You don't have to look perfect. It's never going to look like me, whether you're new or not. The next time you breathe in, lift your left leg up. Step forward as you breathe out. You might have to help your foot with your hand and come on up for crescent lunge. Now, if you need less, step your feet closer together. That's okay. We got to start somewhere. Sometimes I just have days where I need less. Take one more breath in your crescent lunge. We're going to open up to warrior two. So the back heel spins down again. Your feet are kind of like in one line. Left arm forward, right arm back. Are you still breathing on purpose? Now's a good time for that. Take another breath in. Just like before, you're going to cartwheel your hands to either side of your front foot. Step the left foot back and lower down from a high push-up to a low push-up. The next time you breathe in, cobra, lift your heart and your knees. And exhale to downward facing dog. Exhale out your mouth the next time you exhale. We're going to put this together. Again, one breath, one movement. If you need 2 breaths, take 2 breaths. It's okay. The next time you breathe in, lift your right leg high. And as you breathe out, step forward for crescent lunge. Rise up, inhale, crescent. Exhale to warrior two. Back heel spins down. Breathe in warrior two. And as you exhale, cartwheel your hands down, step back, lower down, low push-up. Lift your heart up, cobra. To downward facing dog. If you are behind, your movement is behind my guidance, perfect. That means you're being uniquely you. Keep being you. The next time you breathe in, lift your left leg. As you exhale, step the left foot forward, crescent lunge. Breathe in to reach up. As you breathe out, warrior two. Breathe in warrior two. Cartwheel your hands to the ground, step back and lower down. Lift your heart up, cobra. Again, downward facing dog. Big breath in through your nose. Exhale out your mouth. Lift your right leg high as it'll go. Step your right foot forward, but this time lower your left knee down to the ground. Sometimes you might need blocks here or a blanket under your left knee. We're going to untuck the left toes and let your hips sink forward and down towards your right heel. So sink down this way. Hold. And I like the blocks because I can hold myself up. And I get to choose how much I sink into this. This is a yin pose again. even though you might be using some muscles to hold yourself up a little bit. How far do you need to go? How much pressure is serving you if you just let it happen? Is it too much? Do you need to affect it and make it less? Do you need more? You pick, explore, find it. Keep sinking into this. 3 more breaths. One more big inhale. As you exhale, you're going to try to step back right into downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up when you breathe in. Lift, lift, lift. And as you exhale, step the left foot forward. Drop the right knee down so you're in like a low lunge. And then lift yourself up. So you can use the box again. You can just have your arms down by your sides because that's the weight of your arms is going to pull you down if that's what you need. Take your arms up and it might be a little more intense. You're choosing, you're exploring, you're picking from all these different options, whether I say what they are or I don't. This is your practice. Make it yours. There's no rules to follow. This is you moving and feeling your body while you move. So sink the hips forward and down into that left heel. Hold here and breathe. Don't stop breathing. If your eyes are open, try to focus on one point. If you're using props, maybe, you think about going a little lower. Last 3 breaths. Can you sink? Can you soften? Can you surrender more? Okay, nice and slow. You're going to release, so start to come on up. If you can push back into down dog just for a moment, do so. You're going to come onto the back and you're going to need a blanket, so don't lay back just yet. Come sitting for just a moment. Now, this last pose is going to be like our final pose of the practice. It's a yin pose. It should be really passive and relaxing, and it'll take the place of what we call savasana. So what you need is a blanket. You're going to roll it up so that it's a nice long cylinder and set it behind you. If one of the ends is fatter, like usually if it's folded, it's fatter, that goes away from you. Like it's going to go underneath your head. So at the back of your mat, like that. Your hips are maybe 10 to 12 inches away from the blanket. Bring the soles of your feet together. And you're going to lay back onto the blanket so that the blanket is just kind of supporting the length of your spine and your head. If your head falls off the blanket, then scoot down or pull the blanket up. Arms are going to kind of reach out to the sides, not actively stretch out, but come out to the sides so that the weight of your arms is kind of pulling your shoulder blades down on either side of your blanket. Let's do scans here. Start with your feet. Are your feet relaxed completely? Like the feet might not be touching, or they might roll open, and they don't have to be perfect. Just let them go. Up to your knees. Shouldn't be holding the knees up. If you need support under the knees because it's too much and you're holding your knees up, put blocks underneath your knees here. If you're not holding your knees up, let gravity take them down, soften them, relax them. And just move your way up your legs, just softening the thighs, even the hip creases. Softening your low back. moving up from your low back, moving up the spine, softening into this blanket, letting your heart space just open up super wide. Move up into the shoulders. They should be completely relaxed, melting on either side of this blanket. The arms are heavy, so they're kind of pulling the shoulders down. Soften the forearms, the hands. And then your neck and your head. With your head comes the softening of your forehead and the softening of your jaw. Find rest here. And if at any point you need to just extend your legs out, you can go ahead and straighten your legs and bring your feet as wide as your mat at any time. Since you've let go of everything else, let go of the breath. Don't breathe on purpose. Breathe easy. When you let go of everything and you look into that black space behind your eyelids, what's left? What do you see? What do you experience? What are you like without a body? If your mind is wandering, just watch it wander. Be an observer still in this moment. So we're not going to move too much. Just bring one hand on your heart or near your heart and the other hand on your abdomen. See if you can feel your breath and your heart beating at the same time. Don't change it, just see if you can feel it. Then use your hands. You're going to roll to one side in the fetal position, but help your legs go to that side with your hands. When you get to the fetal position, just lay still for a moment. I like to use this moment as a way to say thank you. Is there any part of your body that you're truly thankful for? And can you just sit with that one little piece of gratitude? Push yourself up to a seat. Bring your hands into your heart center like you're going to pray. Nestle your thumbs into your chest. So the sound of Om is something we do to use our vocal cords, our throat chakra. It not only enables us to bring vibration into that part of our body and exercise that part of the body, but it kind of vibrates out any kind of like energy that keeps you stuck from not speaking and saying what you need to say. So what we want to do is just let ourselves be heard for just a moment. You hearing yourself and maybe me in this video or this audio with you. So all you need to do is breathe in deeply, and when you exhale, it's like you're making a really out loud long sigh, like so it's just gonna go just like that. So inhale as deep as you can. And then just draw your hands, your thumbs up to your forehead. Know that I am a student as much as you are, and together, because we are the same, we acknowledge our sameness, and we say the word Namaste as we bow forward. All right. Hope you enjoyed that quick little 1 hour practice, and hope to see you around. I'm Vize. This is Medicine. See ya.